Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
That's the, they can't promise you anything, that you're gonna go to work, or they'll send you to rehab, and that is like the main thing.
Okay, welcome everybody to the May 14th Commission on Aging Well. I can move to approve the minutes. Does anybody have any adds or deletions on the minutes? If none, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Second?
I would second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and it's approved. Moving down to item number 4 on agenda items, resolution on the Senior Center Wellness Room.
Okay, so you recall we discussed discharging a flat fee that falls in line with the recreation schedule for room rates. And so I did reach out to all the providers and talk about why and what that's going to look like for them. Foot care is fine, massage is fine, but the acupuncturist, he just doesn't have the volume to cover that sort of fee, so he's going to step away. He does offer it in Verona and Monona, and he has a lot more participants there for acupuncture than he does here, and that's always been the case. So we'll just refer folks down there. So starting June 1st, we'll no longer have an acupuncturist, but we also have the earwax lady too, and she was fine with it. So I think it's a good move in the right direction. It's standardized and it falls in line with that recreation fee schedule. I did have to take it to the Parks Board, as we explained before, because in their ordinance at this point in time, anything related to community center changes, fee structure, anything like that still had to be approved by them. So they did approve it, so it's coming back to you guys for approval, and then we'll implement it July 1st.
Goes to the Finance Committee from here?
Oh, that's right, it'll go back to Finance and then Council for final approval, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Move to approve. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? Motion carries. Hey, Jill, we're going to talk about department restructuring.
Yes, so that was kind of the bulk of the meeting today. We're just about 6 months in with this restructure, and there's just a lot of things that I feel we need to address as we move forward. And I want to bring it to this committee because you are this committee. And I kind of made a list of things that I'm starting to discover that really just need to be addressed with a solid plan. The first one we sort of talked about last month, which is our board makeup. We have a Commission on Aging Well board. The Parks and Recreation Board is now just Parks. So there isn't representation from a different population. We just have older adults representing the senior center. So that's one discussion. What does that board makeup look like moving forward? I'm just going to throw out some of these topics. Branding. you know, when I talk to a lot of people, they're not aware that there was a merger at all. It hasn't really been, you know, publicly put out there. It's been talked about in council meetings. It might have gotten into the Fitchburg Star, you know, way back, just article about a meeting and that this happened, but we really haven't done a big rebrand. And so that's something that I feel we need to address so we can put out in public what the mission of this new department is. Marketing, how we market after we rebrand, and then lesser sort of things that I have been thinking about as we are meeting with rec and learning more about them, but you know, possibly in the future a combined newsletter, more shared events that are more intergenerational, or even some of our community celebrations that we're marketing them, you know, more globally, not just within the senior center, more intergenerational programming, and then kind of a staff plan looking out now and then into the future. So these are some of the things that this committee is going to have to help me dive into. And so I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts, you know, maybe we start with the board discussion. What are your thoughts about how are we going to represent, because this board right now is still going to represent everybody. And talking with the city, there was different opinions. They liked keeping one board. But, so anyway, it's just a discussion right now. And I just want to get everybody's opinion about, should there be a recreation board? Should there just be a recreation and community services board? I will say as people learn about the merger, you know, if they talk to me about it, there is some concern, and this is very common, and I've talked to another, so Beaver Dam merged several years ago, their rec and their senior center, and oftentimes for older adults, there's a fear of losing their identity. The programming for older adults is different. You look at, we program not just for health and wellness, we program for socialization and isolation, and our target markets are broader when we look at, you know, maybe frailer older adults and more active older adults. In recreation, you put out a lot of programs, but we specifically, we're talking, you know, memory issue programs, caregiver support programs, so a little bit different than a recreation department that's putting out a lot of physical and maybe some educational, but primarily physical, when I look at things that they offer. So, so anyway, as we discuss the board and representation, I don't want to lose that service piece. We have advocacy around case management and meals and that sort of thing. That is a piece that outside of Dane County, when you look at mergers, they don't deal with case management or meals. It's not within their scope of service. It's only done through an ADRC. So right here in Dane County, we're managing the meals and the case management program. Outside of Dane County, you don't see case managers at senior centers. You may have a meal site, but staffing and management comes from the Adult and Disability Resource Centers, not from the senior center. So it's a big question, and I want to make the right decision as we move forward, because again, this new structure represents the whole city. So thoughts?
How large is the park board?
I think most boards are 7.
So theirs is
Sure.
the same.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure, I'll check.
For the current park board, is
Right,
that what you're at?
Right, yeah. I mean, it seemed to be about that many sitting up there and one online, so.
What are the advantages, do you think, of joint marketing, joint branding to the general public of these two entities?
Well, I mean, because we are merged, I think that it's important that we represent ourselves as one department with maybe different specialties. Maybe there's a senior division. Oftentimes, again, I've done a lot of research, you might have, we have recreation and community services, but staffing-wise, you'll have a rec manager, a senior center manager, even maybe a community services manager. But the branding is, we're not gonna have 2 logos anymore. We're gonna have 1 logo maybe, you know. And also too, as we move forward, we're seeing, there's always been a gap in like the 45 to say 65. They don't know if they should go to the senior center, they don't know if they should go to the rec department. To me, eventually, those age segments aren't gonna be as critical, where we can program and say for 18 plus, for 3 to 5-year-olds, where then people can pick and choose. And then just the time frame of programs oftentimes drive the participation. Daytime programs have mostly people that are retired oftentimes, and after work programs are a little bit different. But when we look at after work programs, do they need to be senior only? Should they be 18 and over? And that is what Beaver Dam does. They sort of moved away from, saying this is senior only or whatever. It's just these programs can be for 18 and over. Or you could say 30 and over, or you could say, you know what I mean? But the program itself will kind of drive that. If we have Zumba Gold, that's going to be a little slower, and for people that want to move a little bit slower. But I think that combined branding can help get away the stigma that a senior center name has. But also when we get rid of the word senior center, we lose the service component because a lot of families seek us out for help with their parents. So, Janice?
So we have a question for you. As you made a comment earlier, you were saying how this is for the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, what does the city do in terms of merging and branding and what have you? Because if it's for the city as a whole, there needs to be some consistency in terms of the method of branding, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, they merged. What is their process?
You know what? I don't feel like there is a process at this point. I think that what I can get from the city, we have a branding guide, I guess. You know what I mean? That the logo will look a certain way. But in terms of, I don't know if I can answer your question. Like, there's no manual that says, hey, this is the first thing you need to do. Here's the second thing you need to do. Here's the third thing. Like that.
Not necessarily manual,
Okay.
but it would seem to me if this is new and you're moving into a new
Right.
vicinity, that there should be some consistency, because we're saying for the whole community as a whole.
Right.
So if that's the city, it seems to me we'll be working kind of with the city, or kind of making sure we're all marching in the same.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of merging and branding and marketing and et cetera.
Can I jump in real quick?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Go ahead.
I would just say, I think given some of the changes that are also still going to happen in the city, and the referendum not passing and us not being able to hire another person on the communications department that we needed for the city, I think once the police facility is finished, and then also once the police facility is finished, there'll be a opportunity to repurpose that space in City Hall for City Hall employees. And I think once all of those phases are kind of maybe in the middle or almost complete, then you can start the rebranding process. Because if we did it now, it would be sort of premature, even though we did have made some changes in consolidated departments. But I think as a whole for the city, it'll look a lot different once these other kind of repurposing and new building projects are done, or at least underway. We can start that process in a better fashion.
So perhaps we're waiting on that public-facing
I guess
component.
Yeah.
But then internally, the decision's already been made
Right.
to combine.
Right.
So then the operations piece
Right.
needs to be addressed now.
Yeah.
And it would seem like my shoot from the hip response to your question would be, it would seem that there should be one group that is at the mission conceptual guiding level to support the efforts of the new organization. And then once that is teased out, then what is the purview of that group? Then is there a need for one or two more operations kind of oversight? As you have pointed out, the breadth of the programming and the nature of the programming for that senior population seems to be far different and far more varied than it is on the rec side. So, which is not to in any way diminish the work of the rec department, but that might be more homogeneous. I mean, it's not, but more so than what happens. So perhaps you need one oversight group, this group or another melded group, one just really at the mission and policy level. And then to tease out, do you need another team of people that helps then with the operation, the more detailed kind of?
Are you referring to like ad hoc groups or committees or boards?
Probably just, you know, in my, again, shoot from the hip.
Yeah,
Because of the amount of work that this group has done and the nature of the senior programming, that would seem to need to be a standing kind of operations group. I don't know, as you tease that out, what their work would be different than what a more of a guiding mission and policy level group.
Well, you do have the Friends.
They're not official, but they're advisory.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be able, they don't pass any policy, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
But could
But
that
you're-
still be the purview of that other group? And then
For
like the
programming.
Friends be more of that operations support?
Operational. You know,
Can I
it
just say,
seems
can I
like
just
they're-
go back
I was
and
gonna
say
say,
thank you?
Jill,
Yeah.
Thank you, Donald, for
Yeah.
clarifying them, because that's where I'm going with him, and it does make sense to
Right.
wait if the city is planning on doing that, because we need that consistency.
Yeah,
So thank you for
yeah, I
that
agree,
information.
I agree.
And the timing.
I was gonna say, real quick, sorry, I didn't know if I cut somebody off, my apologies, but I was just gonna say, if the Friends wanted to transition, like it could become its own committee if like you thought that was like a recognized one through the city. And I mean, there's a process for it, but that could be something to explore as well, given that it wouldn't necessarily be an entirely new group that you would have to create ordinances for and all of that other stuff, since it's already kind of been functioned in an advisory capacity and could potentially explore what that would look like. But we'd have to ask, probably get with Misty and the mayor first, because if we make it official, and do you pay the $25 stipend to the Friends?
No, they're
Already?
they're their own entity.
And I think they enjoy
Gotcha.
that flexibility
And I
and
would-
autonomy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a good thought, but what they do, I don't think it wants to be a public. Go ahead, Jerry, the chair is here, so
Yeah.
Jerry gets to be
I was gonna say,
called.
Consider this,
we're talking all about.
Yeah, right,
it.
right.
If the Friends were to become a public agency, we would not have this discretionary money
Right.
available to
Yeah,
you.
that's what I was.
You'd
yeah.
have to be coming to the city each
Yeah.
and every time you wanted a newspaper subscription or
Yeah,
anything like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, so scratch that one.
You don't need friends.
I need those friends.
So scratch that one, yeah.
Not on the interior, just the perimeter. Yeah, they're very
Would
important.
you lose your 501c3 status?
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And we don't, but, good, and this is what we're doing, we're fleshing this out, because, and I do like that idea, I mean, I've been sitting in some of the remodel discussions,
Yeah.
and I see what's going on, and that feels good.
Yeah.
Internally, when people ask, what's going on, I'd like to be able to at least say, this is why we merged, it's about serving the community and strengthening it and utilizing,
Is that what you say, when people ask you, is that, you're saying that's what you say?
Yeah, but I want to have a can statement, because if it's gonna become more visible, as we move forward. Now, we had a discussion with parks, a lot of people on parks, they're like, oh, right, there's a new division, well, why was this division created? And I think it was created to, better serve the community with the resources that we have, and just, crossing all ages. There's just the social service piece that's a little bit different, but we
Yeah.
are called community services, so.
So beyond the branding and the marketing, which you might want to think about further down the road, what is your timeline for putting these entities together from an operational standpoint?
Well, 6 months in was a big learning curve for me, and
It's
in
been 6
particular-
months.
It's been it became official in December, so we're almost to June. There was a lot for me to learn, so I didn't want anything to change on the front end.
You wanted to, let some time.
Rec is doing rec, senior's doing senior, I'm learning about H&I, and I still have a long way to go to learn more about how that is. the more I work with rec, the policies and procedures, I'd like to start to streamline some of that. The way, just like the room fees, that was one small step, but it was needed. But there's other things that we're doing a little bit differently, the way we pay instructors, the forms that we use, that sort of thing. I want to start to look at, maybe there's the ability to cross-train staff if we're all doing the same things. There's just different opportunities for us to be more efficient the way we do things. And I want to look at more cross-marketing because I think that it's important. Urban line dancing is one example where, we put that out in the rec newsletter because there's a lot of people that work that might get that newsletter that don't get ours. And so how can we cross-market some of these opportunities for folks to start to step in that direction? That you don't have to be this age to come here and this age to come here, but there is some umbrella, there's some crossover with some of those things. But
the other thing to think about too is that you have people on this board and on the rec board that are on those boards because they have a strong advocacy for recreational activities. People on this board have more, or committee rather, have more interest in on the seniors, elderly side. Do those individuals want to start advocating across to something else?
My knowledge of the Parks and Rec Board is it was primarily parks. They do a lot of approvals. Right now they just approved a schematic design for a splash pad at Southdale. They didn't really engage a lot in recreational programming. They worked with recreation when the fee structures changed, when there had to be increases, but I didn't ever, feel there was a ton of guidance like we have here in terms of what direction are we going and who are we serving and why. There was always a report, here's what rec is doing, but it was really more about parks and policy. And again, the policy piece now can come here because our policies should be standardized across the board. Looking at.
Are you talking about policy for parks?
No. Just the way that rec does it. Even they have scholarships, we have scholarships funded differently. But let's look at that. They get sponsors, we get sponsors. What does that look like? We're not consistent.
Are you referring to parks or recreation?
Recreation. I'm sorry. Recreation. Yeah. So I feel like there wouldn't be folks on parks that were like, oh, I want to be on this because I'm really engaged in recreation for younger, older adults or kids.
Could you just expand this board? It would seem to me that, is there a limit on the size of the board?
I would have to ask.
Or to just look at that composition.
Right.
Maybe scale back this group a little bit and add parks and rec. I had never, until you just said parks and rec really are two different entities.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, that's one thing, and it's obviously
I did
very
too.
different.
But they
I didn't see it as one.
in this
No.
reorg,
No.
because it's such a big thing, right?
What's that, parks?
Yeah.
It's two different.
It's two different things. And,
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think, I certainly see us working with recs because that's the way it is now.
That's the way it is.
I think we need to leave parks alone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
they're
we
all
need to touch.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the director of parks?
So it's a parks manager, and his name is Eric, and his last name is escaping me right now.
And he reports to,
He reports to Public Works,
okay.
Yeah. So-
which was a change. That was a change in structure. They had a Parks and Recreation department head, and it became a parks manager, and then they put recreation under this new umbrella. But yeah, parks is very separate, and I'm learning a lot about, recreation does all the park shelter scheduling, they do all the payments, they do everything with park shelters. They are working.
This is rec.
This is rec, because this is how it's always been. And so we've been looking at some of that too. One of the things that Eric did right away, because we talked about this, Parks was dealing with registrations for community gardens. And recreation's like, we don't really know anything about these community gardens, where the plots are. So Eric took that over right away, which was really, they were so thankful for that. So what other things can we maybe shift over to the parks that the rec was doing when it was Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
And they were sharing duties.
Yeah.
So doing a lot of exploration. Eric's been great to work with too. He's coming in with a fresh set of eyes. And you know, are there other duties? I mean, there was some other duties that we shifted over where Parks personnel were reporting to Rec about certain things in the shelter, and that wasn't necessary anymore. They need to report to Parks. And so, you know, it's a transition for Parks too. Eric is a one-man show, but he has a lot of Parks maintenance worker, Parks supervisor. They work closely with Rec because they're prepping ball fields. There's a lot that goes on with sporting events that I'm learning, soccer fields. So Rec has to have some communication with Parks in some shape or form, but how do we streamline that? So, yeah.
What is your title? Your new title?
Right, see? Recreation and Community Services Director.
Yeah, see?
It doesn't say senior anymore.
It does not. But underneath there, in the structure, would be a recreation manager and a senior center manager. But it does not say senior anymore.
In essence, this is actually a community engagement building initiative. That's what it is. I mean, it's touching the whole community. Seniors, kids,
Throughout life.
the whole, that's community engagement.
But the word senior is no longer in it.
Right.
Which is a
problem.
It's a concern on both sides. It's a concern on both sides because clearly seniors will say, I like the work, using that word. On the other hand, people here come to the senior center and they're like, oh, no, you know, that's for seniors. And so
I walked this line for years.
Absolutely, that's.
Is there a reason that that it's recreation and community services, not community services and recreation?
No.
And
It's just the way it landed, probably, right?
Yeah.
Just the way it landed, yeah.
It seems to me an emphasis should be on community services and recreation.
First, and then recreation. Yeah, that's a good point.
So is there a new name now for the combined group?
Well, right now, because that's what my title is, it's the Recreation and Community Services Department, and I'm the director of that department.
Okay, and the mission statement is going unchanged?
Well, and that was another thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, what is the mission of this department now? Because we're serving all ages. And again, that piece of the social service, you know, that's a big piece of it.
And I want to go back to Barb's suggestion, maybe combining, adding some people to this group, or might we have some initial meetings where we meet jointly to discuss mission?
Yeah.
What do the two groups have in common? You know, young people have recreation needs.
Right.
Lunch and Learn, is that just for seniors? Is it for younger people? Might they attend?
Lunch and Learn really is for anybody can really come.
Right.
Anybody can come, really.
You know, I think, you know, programming wise, we have a lot in common. You know, a lot of people, they want health, they want wellness. I think when we start talking about advocacy, if we were going to improve space, you know, we talked about this, you know, in other buildings, like shared use of a facility. So, you know, do the younger kids need a place to meet? Well, so do the older adults. Like it doesn't matter what age you are, our needs are very similar. People want health, wellness, continuing education. So when we talk about any of that, programming, space-wise, it's all very similar. You know, we have a building, we all use the chairs and the tables, and so the budget is all now for everybody. It just all makes more sense.
So that's not really the issue.
What's that?
I mean, that's not the issue. What you're saying is open for everybody. That's given.
Right, but how we segment it now, how we're advertising it is very segment. You know, it's senior and it's rec. And so do we cross over into it's community engagement for all, it's a community center for all, but we still have the community services piece, which is not for all.
Well, you said community engagement and services. What you know, I mean, even regardless, you're not gonna be able to say it's for this in your title of.
Right.
Well, I think simply having an adult, 18 and over, and then you might have if it's some designation that, it's, like, I'm thinking of Road Scholar, active, activity level, you could.
Right.
You could designate programming in that way so that people can self-select out of various programs that might be, too slow for them or too active. But eliminating the senior designation per se, but coming up with maybe a more
Comprehensive?
yeah,
Like adult.
that would show, because, as you say, something in the evening might appeal to younger people, but it could also appeal to seniors.
Well, it's interesting because I have access to the registrations for programs that Rec is doing in the evening, and I can look at them and see the ages. And some of the more active fitness programs, the ages run from 35 to 75. And I find that, and so that tells me that Rec is reaching older adults as well. And so, this combined marketing makes sense to me. If, they're not they might put 18 and older for those certain activities, but I found it interesting, the variety of ages that are doing some Zumba and some yoga classes at night. And so, that to me, that's very much in common if we are marketing to a community engagement center or a community center for all, or that people understand that that's where they're coming to get programming. Now, there's you also have all of our passive programs, cards, bingo, wood carving, knitters, that's okay too, because actually I will say my son only works part-time, and he had started talking about learning to carve, and I was like, well, come on over to the center. He's 29, but he, it's a drop-in, you buy a kit, but the folks there taught him. So, why can't somebody, it doesn't matter what age you are sometimes, unless it's really specific for young children or, it's a certain pace. But I don't know if we need to designate any more senior and not senior for recreational any programs. People that are retired are going to play euchre during the day or bridge. You probably won't get a lot of younger people coming, but do we have to designate? Oh, this is senior
Second
only.
shift nurses.
So
You just don't know.
we're speaking right now more about programming versus the merging in the name of what this, right?
I mean, it's about programming related to marketing to rebranding. It's all connected.
Yeah, but if we're gonna rebrand, we merge. So what is this center? Right now, it's the senior center.
It's the
So we've
senior
got to be able to come
community
up with a thought that addresses, as you indicated, the whole community. I get it about the programming. I totally agree that you can have different levels of programming.
Right.
And some of them you don't have to have age, range or what have you. But I think, in my mind, we're talking two different things, because we got this big merge. What is this center? I mean, because if we can't keep perhaps the name of senior center, but then want to address it and deal with it on different levels and in different ways. So for me, I think I'd like to see us figure out with this merge, what is the center? Is this a community, or suggest, is this a community engagement and services center, or what? And then the programming, you definitely can work with that in terms of different levels, but I think the bigger issue is, what is this?
So you're talking about a rename.
Yeah,
really
the discussion about it at least.
Yep.
Have you had this discussion with the rec side?
No, not yet.
Would there be value in bringing these two groups together to have a brainstorming session?
I think when we get close to,
At least give you some cross-pollination here and give you some ideas that maybe you're not thinking about.
well, and I can talk to them about this. This is the first time that I brought it to this
No, I agree.
committee.
Right.
This
But that might be useful to you, Jill.
Yeah, this discussion in my years here has been had at least half a dozen times with different boards. Because I always felt years ago we should get rid of the name Senior Center, because I knew, which is how the Active Women's and Men's Group kind of formed, because there were people that didn't want to identify with the Senior Center, and that's not going away, in fact.
Right. And we discussed this last year, I mean, here in this group.
Yeah, we did.
We've had
Yeah.
these discussions, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, so I'm glad that you're bringing it back.
Well,
for
it
us to
feels
talk
right,
about
it
it.
feels like the right
Yeah.
time now because of the
Yeah.
merge, and that's given us an opportunity, yeah.
So it seems
I'd like to
that
put
some of the branding and more outward facing pieces of this conversation are going to be later, as
Yes.
Donald suggested.
For-
that-
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
with the city.
But right now, what do you need to move forward? Or what does the whole facility and the entity need to move forward? It seems to me that we need to identify a mission statement and a group of people to craft and guide that mission statement development, and perhaps your work as we move forward. The notion of doing an informal working session that's combined. It is important that the rec team feels that you don't tell them this later, that they're
Right.
part of the
Right.
conversation up front. Whether that's a full, you get too many people in a room and nothing, it would seem that more would get done, but so perhaps part of this group and part of that group, and bring some ideas forward.
I mean, I do like the idea, we have a very strong mission and vision statement for the senior center, and it's wonderful.
Do they have,
Which was
just have one for the rec?
I don't think so.
Oh.
So, I do think, that's a good, I mean, and that's the stuff we can work on for the rebranding piece, for sure. But I wanna go back to, a name change. I want more feedback. I mean, I have yours, and what are the rest of you thinking about that? And Donald, I'd like to hear from you about that as well. A name change for the department, if you have some thoughts.
Can I think on it a little bit?
Yeah.
The word adult just keeps
Can I-
popping up in my mind.
Vance has a question. Go ahead, Vance.
I know we're talking about this as far as rec and senior center. I wonder if there's been any informal, not evaluation, but poll of our members at the senior center. So I'm 30 and I want to come play euchre, and all the euchre players are used to having seniors in their group. How would they react to that? Are they aware that, and this may be something that's down the road, and I guess just needs to be put on the table if that's the case. But I'm just wondering how our people who currently use the senior center as seniors would react to some of these things. And maybe we should just be mindful of them, or ask them, or have their input or something.
I will say.
Does that make sense?
We do have a late 20-year-old that's playing euchre with her parents right now, and they seem to enjoy it. But I understand there are going to be older adults that feel like they're not going to have as much attention. But I personally, in my experience, and I don't feel that will be a big problem. But it's always to be considered. In the past, when we did do surveys about the name change, it was about half and half.
Yeah.
It was about half and half.
Oh, okay.
People were worried to get rid of the word senior, comments about get over yourself, you know what I mean, just come in.
Oh.
So it was about half and half. But each generation changes.
Interesting, totally different issue, or perhaps part of this conversation as we go forward. The research is pretty clear on the physical and mental benefits to intergenerational activities.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just leave it at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's on here, you know, we have access to do so much more.
And there are just so many physical and mental benefits to all generations in intergenerational
Yep.
engagement. I love community engagement across the lifespan.
Yeah.
And that lifespan then
Oh, I like that.
opens the door to senior. It doesn't truncate, or it doesn't.
It's very
From-
inclusive,
It is.
very inclusive.
I don't know that that's a department name, but like from a mission kind of.
Mhm.
What do you want us to do next?
Keep flushing it out.
Yeah.
You want us to think of some things?
Mhm.
I mean, in terms of names, is that what you'd like us to do?
Yeah,
And I mean, and you just kind of open this up for us to start
Yes.
thinking.
yeah.
There's some changes
Yeah.
that possibly coming, and you just want to get some input. There's nothing concrete. You just want to hear
Absolutely.
thoughts. Yes.
And it's a
Okay.
perfect time, because as Donald pointed out, you know, we
Yes.
are gonna have a big facelift here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's gonna be some
Mm.
major changes at the center as well through this remodel.
Yeah.
And so that gives me comfort. I didn't think about that
Yes.
timeline, and that gives me comfort, because it takes a while to flush this stuff out.
I was going to say,
And
this
so-
is not going to happen overnight.
No, and so, you know, the plan is to start construction next spring, first on City Hall and then the community center. So we've got a ways to go yet, but this gives us time to just flush out a lot of these details that we've been talking about. And the branding has been on my mind, because when people talk, you know, whether it's a mission statement, but just why is this happening? You know, what if the community, why did you guys do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like you said, a lot of people don't even know what happened.
They don't, and so there was a piece of me that was like, people
Yeah.
need to know this, but I don't wanna start rebranding it as recreation and community
Yeah.
services. I don't, you know, just, this is what we're doing right now. So, just kind of tiptoeing into this, so then when we're ready to really make a big change,
And
we
we're
can
ready.
do it around that time. Yeah, so that was my biggest sort of thing. I think the policy piece of it, bringing some policy changes to you guys and seeing what policies we can streamline within departments. And then also, you know, it won't impact you as much, but looking at a combined registration system. I mean, my vision is that one day you walk in the front door, you walk in the upper level, lower level, there's a wonderful person at the front desk that can register you for programs.
For everything, yeah.
For everything, you know, but there's obviously specialties. There's always gonna be older adult programming or program supervisors and, you know what I mean, recreation supervisors. When I look at org charts at other places that are combined, it's an older adult specialist or maybe a, you know, just a rec specialist. And we can look at different titles, because again, what we provide, I think, in terms of the mental supports, the social supports, like I said, the Parkinson's support group, a caregiver support group. Not to say that, I mean, I've tried to, you know, December, I was a caregiver for my kids and my parents. You know, there's younger kids that could use a caregiver support group. But that's crossing the, you know, there's just a lot of crossover in terms of what people need. But we can't provide social work to anyone younger than 60 at this point in time. We can't provide meals, you know what I mean? So we can't lose that piece too. So that was kind of the discussion today.
Phil, regarding the current senior center staff, do you see those positions evolving
I hope so.
beyond what they are now to
Yeah.
help support whatever this new entity
100%. They didn't replace me, and I worked with them on that because I wanted to see what was needed the most. You know, I mean, but to continue to do my job as a senior center director and this job it's very difficult.
Well, the senior center director, that position's gone away.
Right, but I'm still performing a lot of those duties.
Right.
You know, and I haven't shifted them to other staff at this time.
Okay.
Because I again, over the years, you know, I've had staff pick up a lot of other duties, you know, that might not have fallen under their job description. And so looking at each and every one of them, looking at Rex things. Is there stuff we can share? Is there, other things like that? So that's what I've been working on a lot too.
But also, given what you just said, that may be a point of taking a look at the reorganization of those positions and what have you, because it's grown.
Right.
And, yeah, so
Right.
there's some reorg that might be coming down the pipes.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Is there duplicity between what's going on here and what's going on in rec?
There's duplicity in terms of, we program, but that's, specialty program. We all have to pay bills when using the same system. We all, again, the way we have the same policy in terms of independent contractors, an 80-20 split. It's just we use different forms in how we do that. So there's.
Role change? Are volunteers used in recreation, or it's mostly paid staff, isn't it?
They have volunteer coaches, so I did talk to Chad about that. They have about 40 coaches that they use each summer. So again, just stepping back and understanding what is the needs of that department too. I've been here a long time, and they've had the same amount of staff for the last 30 years. They've always had a rec person in the front and a rec directors, 2 people in that office. It's never increased over the last 32 years. So just learning about where are their pressure points? What could maybe be shifted to parks? What could be combined, in terms of administratively? They're sharing bill paying, they're sharing a lot of things like that. So again, just really identifying, is there things that we can maybe cross-do to
I was
make
gonna
it
say, there
better?
could be some cross-training.
Cross-training,
From the
right.
administrative work.
From the administrative part, that for sure. So, yeah. Lots to think about, but we've got time, which is, again, this has all been in my head for a long time. And now I think 6 months in, I've learned a lot, and I think it's time to start verbalizing and having these discussions out in the open, because your input is valuable, and it will take a while to make these changes, and I want them to, be reflective of what we're able to provide for the community.
Is there the possibility of consolidation to the point of elimination of positions?
No.
Okay.
I would never see anybody being eliminated.
I was gonna say elimination.
But I understand what you're saying,
We're always talking about efficiencies, and
Yeah,
that piece always comes
There's no
up.
fluff.
Yeah.
There's no fluff
There's
at this
no,
point.
if
There's no fluff.
anything, there's a need for.
Oh, there's
All
a
right.
need.
There's a need for
That's
more.
why I asked the question.
Yeah, and there's also, and again, I'm just spewing out my head, but, looking at the LTE summer staff, looking at the building attendants, looking at the cleaners, is there some efficiency there? And, advocating maybe for some more summertime help. So a lot to look at, And then, not even mentioning H&I, the healthy neighborhood, in the work that is being done with the grants, and my role in that piece of it too, which to me kind of falls under a community service,
Yeah.
So that's something we're not even talking about. Now, H&I has their own board, so things can be bounced off of them for the grants and stuff, so, and Donald sat on that board. So do you have any thoughts yet, Donald?
None that I fully fleshed out that I want to share just yet, but I'll definitely circle back with you.
Sometimes it's good to pause.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of information.
So between now and the next meeting, what do you want us to do?
I think we just are gonna continue these conversations
Right,
until,
all right.
we can come up with a solid plan that we're comfortable with, maybe that the name change. And, then that has to be shared with the city, what that looks like. But again, because we haven't done a big rebrand, and that's why I've always held back, we have the opportunity to make it better. It's not like we put a lot of stuff out there. We don't even have a logo yet. So there's not a lot that we don't need to backpedal on a lot.
So what do you mean by name change?
If we became the community engagement center, you know what I mean?
What's wrong with community center?
Well,
We talked about that time and time again.
I think I don't know, this is why we're having these discussions. I think community engagement sounds more modern.
Actually,
It's action.
perhaps we should just prioritize what we want to start discussion as we go along. Because it's a lot.
It's a
here.
lot.
So maybe you can take a minute and prioritize what you want us to really start focusing on.
Okay.
Instead of us talking about this,
Right.
and that.
Yeah, I just had to vomit all the things in my
Yeah,
head.
that's
so
okay.
you know.
That's
But-
okay.
But
That's
you're
good.
talking about,
Yes, but now that you've
What-
done that.
it's not clear to me what we're naming.
The department.
But I thought the department has a name.
It
I thought
does.
you said
We
it's
can change
it.
Recreation and Community Center.
You know, I'd like to explore
Whatever.
possibly changing that to something
That's
more
what she's saying.
vibrant and modern.
Yeah.
Will that
Okay.
require
inclusive.
a rule change?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not an easy
Okay. But you
step into.
So that's not set in stone, that it's the whatever recreation and community.
in my opinion. In other opinions, it might be, but I feel like now is the time. I think we're
Okay,
moving into
okay.
a really exciting time. I think again, like the name change is, it breathes life into something, it gives it energy, and this is the time to
That you're not-
explore it.
It's the department, not the building that you're thinking of.
Well, I thought about that too, because we got some really nice signs out there that were expensive in the brick that say community and senior center. So, you know, there's some fallout to this, absolutely, absolutely. And I thought about that, or maybe we're just changing the building, but that's why we're having the discussion. I think my priority would probably be to start working on a mission statement.
Yeah.
For the new department. It doesn't matter what it's called, it still is gonna have the same mission underneath it. That
Could
would be
you
my
resend that with, when you send out the minutes, the draft minutes of today, separate document, if you resend the mission statement?
Our
Our-
senior center one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're saying Rick doesn't have one.
Not that
correct?
I know of, and I can't speak 100% on that. Yeah. We have a
So
really
right
nice
now,
one.
we should focus, because my head is almost exploding.
Tell me about it.
When we get into reorganizations and staffing, but is it name change along with mission statement for now?
I think
Or
that-
might there be a third thing?
No, I think that's enough for right now. I think that's enough for right now. The budget process will start soon, and I might be putting forward some changes in positions. And so that will be coming up as well. And then advocacy
And
will
I'm
be
just
needed around
curious,
that.
how did the name go away? Where did that come from?
You mean in this discussion right now?
That it would not be part of the no name?
Because
Rec and
Who
community
wanted to
services.
change it? Did it come from the common council?
it came from a lot of meetings with personnel and administration and just trying to encompass both divisions without selecting just one, if we could say senior and rec division, but
It probably
came,
didn't get a lot of thought.
It didn't, and it was a real tight
Yeah.
time frame that this changed, and a title was needed
Yeah.
to move forward. And that's why I feel like we do have the opportunity to really dive deep into this.
That was all part of that reorganization study, and was that the, maybe the consultants who came up with that title?
No, they
it
didn't
was-
come up with that title, but they came up, they were
The
in
org,
support of it.
yeah.
Yeah, the org chart, yeah.
So was the goal to gain more efficiency, or why the change?
I think because, again, as we spoke about, we're doing recreation for all anyway.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, as I spoke of, younger folks and older folks are able to participate in the same thing. I think we can serve the community better. We're all in the same building, and that we have a shared calendar. But wouldn't it be nice if there was just one person doing the calendar? So there's a lot of efficiencies to be gained by just one person overseeing all of the goings on and driving the vision of a program that does serve all ages, rather than two different mission statements or one and not one. And then, of course, we've got the community services that will always be for older adults.
And can you let us know at some point what the Director of Recreation might think about
Absolutely.
developing a mission statement?
Absolutely.
And we could put the two side by side and
Yeah.
just continue on down the road.
Yeah.
But this is complex.
Yeah. It is.
Okay. We done with that for now?
Oh my goodness, are you sleeping at night?
Nope. No, it's good. It's
So
exciting.
should we change the name of the senior center Friends?
No.
Yeah, we'll
That's
make
up
it
to
the
them.
Friends of the Senior Center.
No, the senior center acquaintances. Let's, how about that? No, just-
They do not report to us, that is their decision.
That's true, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, we had our pancake breakfast last month and set a record with more than 660 participants.
660?
Yeah, thereabouts. Ticket stubs didn't totally match the amount received, so yeah, as far as we can tell, it was more than 660 people. And we thank we extend our thanks to all the sponsors and the volunteers who made the event happen. So a special thanks to Mandy for coordinating all those people.
Yeah.
And let's see, we supported the senior center last month with more than $620 for various items. And we will be providing funds for the gifts for the seniors at the lunch tomorrow for those over 90 years old or older, honoring the older Americans. And let's see, we will also be supporting the purchase of plants and materials for outdoor landscaping around the community center.
Senior center.
Okay. And we will be holding our annual brat sale on Friday, August 21st. So mark your calendars, and more details will be available as planning proceeds. And regarding, our major discussion here, with all this publicity that, the rec department has, can we tuck our pancake breakfast into their
100%. Yeah.
Alrighty, good.
Yeah.
And that's my report.
Thank you.
Very good. Jill, Department Outreach Plan update?
All right. So diving in right now with the Dane County budget, we have to put a budget proposal to them. And when I say we, it's the other 11 focal points. We get together and we do a big request because we're all being funded for case management and nutrition. We've been told there will most likely be cuts. Don't even ask for more money. But it's real troublesome because what we're doing this year is we're really putting forward the actual costs of each program. So in past years, we're just given an amount from the county. Dane County sets aside $1 million. They put it through a formula. I've talked about it before. They look at diversity, they look at ages, they look at food share recipients, they look at rural versus urban, and each of these categories is weighted differently, and they look at census data, and then that $1 million is put through this formula, and then it's shot out to each focal point. So it doesn't matter what our expenses are, we get the same thing all the time. But this year, we're all putting forward, I've been working with finance to really get the true cost of the case management program and nutrition. So salaries, benefits, taxes, every little thing, what the space that we're using, the electricity, the maintenance, and putting it forward to the county in one big number, and then looking at how much they're giving us, even though they're not most likely gonna give us more money, it's just trying to make them aware, and I'll make them aware of what are the municipalities and the towns really contributing and benefiting Dane County by doing this contribution, because for us here, the city of Fitchburg contributes probably at least 85% of the cost of case management and nutrition. And lucky that we now have Donald as a board supervisor, so I can educate him more about the case management and nutrition funding. So a lot of work goes on behind the scenes to try to keep that as a priority for Dane County because the older adult population continues to grow. The complexity, the homelessness, the issues that we're dealing with they take a lot of time. And it's very beneficial to the county to have us at the local levels here. And so just trying to continue to educate the board of supervisors and the county exec about the importance of this program. So trying to present the information a little bit different this year. So working on that. All the stuff we talked about earlier, I'm still doing a lot of gathering of information. I've been working a lot with Jessica with the H&I program. We did meet with the mayor about a possible pause on the 2027 grants that the city allocates. And she was open to that idea. We met with the H&I committee last night to talk about that. And the reason being is, it's been 10 years since the city has had this grant program. Last year was the first year that there was ever a staff person in charge of it. So it really hasn't been reviewed. It hasn't been updated. The criteria really needs to be, we need to dive real deep into that criteria and also a plan of sustainability. If this is something the city's gonna continue long-term, what does that look like?
So for restructuring of that program?
Yeah, the grant program. Yeah, so it was pretty well received by the H&I members last night. And so a lot of work to be done there too as well. But I think it's a good idea. I think that in the end, it'll be a program that really strengthens and supplements and supports the residents of Fitchburg, all residents, So anyway, a lot of work being done on that. Otherwise, as Jerry mentioned, we've got the Older Americans event tomorrow. We sent out about 100 applications to those, or invitations to those over 90, and we've got close to 40 coming that are over 90. And then the Fitchburg Singers sing, and it's all in the dining room, and the friends, we've got cute little plants for everybody, so thank you for that. The mayor comes down and recognizes them with a small speech, and we take a picture, and it's a really nice day. So that's
Anybody
tomorrow.
over 100?
Nope, nobody's over 100. The woman that did turn 100 this year, there's 2 of them are not able to come. Yeah, so yeah, that's really it.
So also on outreach, we just concluded a year-long effort to increase diversity here at the Senior Center. We've met monthly or every other month or whatever. What's next?
Well,
Do we feel?
Yeah, go ahead, Janice.
for that, our next working meeting, that's when we'll close it out to review everything that we did, that whole year-long process, our milestones, some of our successes, some of the things that we can learn and do differently. But that'll happen at our next working meeting. We'll all get together and kind of go over everything that we did for this last
Is
year.
that scheduled?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
The fourth-
remind me.
The 4th, we were always meeting the
Wednesday.
4th, right?
4th Wednesday?
Yeah, I have it on my calendar. Yeah, the 4th Wednesday.
Okay, I don't have that. Okay,
The 22nd, right?
I think I stopped in May, so,
It is May.
okay, so.
It's this month.
This month,
It's at the end
okay.
of May. Yeah, that'll be our wrap up.
Okay.
Sorry, but milestones.
No.
And then can I
Yeah,
address June?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Yep.
June has been dedicated to Juneteenth. As you know, Juneteenth is really June 19th. However, there's several things that's going on. For my lunch and learn, the first part, first Wednesday, the gospel choir will be honoring and celebrating it in the regular lunch and learn time frame downstairs. So they'll be performing. But then on June 17th, there's a program that I'm having from 1 to 3 upstairs, and with Dr. Charles Brown, I'm sorry, Dr. Charles Brown, yeah. Dr. Charles Taylor. He is the author, well-known author of the book Juneteenth. He will be here explaining and talking about his book. But in that program, we'll also have a poet and then also a songstress. So there's a three-person program on June 17th. And so that's free to the community and it's open. And I hope that we'll give flyers to you guys. Hope you guys will help promote it and attend because I think it's something that's very educational and it'll be a really nice event. And so also the songstress is also a commissioner on the housing committee here in Fitchburg. Yes, she is. So it's a really good program, and Donald, I'm going to send. Is he gone? I'm going to send him something to put out on Facebook. So Charles, if you could help in your contacts, and Donna and Barbara as well as Paul, and you as well, Jim. I think this is something for the whole community, and we need to share it out, as we go along. So, but I think it's a really good time for people to learn. About different cultures and different about this book, Juneteenth. This guy is one of an individual that was involved in actually having Juneteenth become an actual holiday. Now, also for the city here on June 15th, I believe it's the 15th, they're raising the flag at noon. So there's a lot going on in June. So we'll get flyers to all of you so that you, actually, Jill, can you send a flyer out to all the committee members here? Okay, so that's it for June, the busy June.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great event.
Jill, any additional reports from you?
I wanted to thank you again for the celebrity bingo. People are still talking about it. It was just a really fun event, so thank you for your work on that. And then we did do the proclamation for Older Americans Month Tuesday night, so thank you Paul and Donna and Barbara and Jerry and Carol and Jesus Rodriguez for coming out and supporting all of that. So I appreciate that. I think, the working meeting is the 27th. We always did it the 4th because we meet on the 2nd and then we did the 4th Wednesday. So I have it as the 22nd from 3.
27th.
27th. 27th.
From the 3 to 5.
Yeah, from 3 to 5.
And so we'll close out our long-term goal.
Hard to believe it's been a year.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Anything else for discussion? If not, I'll make is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're done.
Very good. Charles, is this your last meeting? No.
Got one more.